Necromunda Hired Gun is the latest title from French developer Streum Studios and is one of the 500 or so Warhammer Universe games being released this year. Set in the 40k time period, you are a bounty hunter working in the Underhive, quite literally a hive of scum and villainy. With your trusty Cyberhound by your side, you'll work through 13 main campaign missions and a bevy of side content. Review codes were not sent out for console ahead of time, and oh boy, is it obvious why. This might be one of the most disappointing games of the year, and let me tell you why. Coming from the creators of the much maligned Space Hulk Deathwing, my hopes weren't high when the game was announced. Gameplay featurettes, though, showed what looked like a promising budget title, $40 US at time of launch and on sale for $6 off. It was graphically impressive, and the gunplay looked fast-paced and fun. The loot system sounded interesting, with a variety of weaponry at your disposal. After seeing the initial waves of reviews hit, I noticed a trend though. No codes were given out for the console version of the game, it was only for PC. Within 10 seconds of loading into the opening level, it was clear why. My game crashed. Quite a bad omen, which would go on to happen roughly another 15 or 20 times during my 10 or so hours with the campaign. And graphically, the game chugs in an odd manner on my Series X. There's a judder to camera movement that has given me headaches after prolonged sessions of play, and performance is simply unacceptable. Even with a VRR, that's a variable refresh rate enabled display, it was an abysmal performance. The biggest issue though is the aiming. With the default settings, the tiniest movement of your right analog stick will send your reticle flying. This is especially egregious when it involves aiming down the sights of anything long range. The tiniest movement causes a hard acceleration that you have little to no control over. And by the end of the game, I had only used shotguns for the majority of my playthrough, as at least after greatly lowering the sensitivity for horizontal, vertical, and aiming down sights, it was simply really bad feeling instead of completely broken. And this is a massive shame, as outside of a few completely baffling design decisions, there is a fun game here. The fast-paced gunplay matches well with an excellent power system, and the upgrades feel meaningful and push you into the side content so that you can earn enough money to upgrade yourself and your cyberpooch. That Cyberhound operates on a cooldown timer and gives you the unbelievably powerful ability of seeing where everyone on the map anywhere near you is. At first, the cooldown feels far too long, but after a few upgrades, my dog was out fighting with me quite often. The combat, at least on PC for now, has great potential. The few things that I could do, namely close range shooting, felt nice and punchy. The guns have such a good weight to them, and it's matched by an excellent variety. Melee is available as either a timer-based power-up that's pretty darn weak, and a takedown prompt. This prompt can quickly dispatch enemies who otherwise would take 50 shotgun blasts to kill and is essentially broken. One of the power-up abilities allows you to stun enemies around you, which makes them vulnerable to the takedown. I use this combo roughly 600 times in my playthrough to quickly take care of the tougher enemies, as you don't even need to stun the weaker ones. You can just run up to them, press X, and watch a canned animation that generally breaks as you kill them. Getting back to the dog, unfortunately there really isn't that much else to him. He can do his own takedown, which kills most smaller enemies and gives you the red outline for all enemies buff, and that's it. The power-ups end up being the most interesting part of the game by the end, though they can be quite expensive to purchase and level up, so you'll want to grind out some of the side content before pushing through the campaign. And really, I say this under the assumption that you're playing on PC, as right now this game is a disaster on both Xbox and PlayStation consoles. The developers have said on social media that it's a top priority for them to fix the controls and the performance, but it's obvious that this one was not ready on either the old or new consoles. And there is a truly head-scratching decision, as the game has a deep and I liked the loot system, but you simply cannot access it, your inventory that is. You just can't access it during a mission. You can only set things up before you head out, aka the terrible system that Anthem had back at launch. I simply do not understand how this restrictive setup was seen as a positive by the dev team. Graphically, the game looks great when it's either a very small environment so that the judder is lessened or you're standing still. The moment things get frantic, then it takes a massive nosedive in a way I have a hard time putting my finger on. There's an in-game frames per second counter that shows it bouncing between the 40s and 50s and 60s, but it's going so fast that it almost makes no sense. It's not a stunning game by any means, but there are some areas that are quite good looking with a future goth-inspired art direction. Sound-wise, the music varies between pure Doom rip-off guitars and rather memorable heavy metal synths. The voice acting's mostly bland, and I chose a female main character who had an incredibly thick accent that felt pretty try-hard. The story's mediocre and predictable, but it's really not what you're there for. You'll see each plot point coming from a mile away, but you'll be too busy shooting and stabbing and having fun if you're doing it on PC that you won't really mind. In a thoroughly disappointing conclusion, if I were reviewing this game on multiple platforms, it would be a nightmare, as it is obvious that PC was the lead platform by a mile. There is a lot of potential, and if a good amount of time has passed since release, I'd suggest you look up the patches that have come out, along with the discourse online around the game, to see if things have been fixed. As it is now, this is a broken mess of a game, and I cannot in good conscience recommend it to anyone on Xbox or PlayStation consoles. I really hope they fix it up though, because I would love another run-through with a properly working version of this game on my Xbox. Thank you so much for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please tick that little bell, and you'll see whenever we post. See you here next time on XboxEra.